Rise of the Bonemancer, Chapters 1 through 10. Chapter 1. The day Bones answered, no one expected anything from Max. That was the problem. He stood at the back of the Awakening Plaza with the other 15-year-olds. Hands clenched tight inside his sleeves to hide the shaking. Stone spires rose around them like the ribs of a dead god, etched with runes older than the city itself. Above, the sky churned in slow. Bruised spirals a reminder that the world did not forgive weakness. This was the awakening ceremony, and it decided who mattered. One by one, names were called. Lysa, Turnfall. Fire erupted around her feet. Class, awakened. Pyromancer, common cheers. Darren Holt, his skin hardened into iron. Class awakened. Iron-skinned warrior, uncommon applause. Max swallowed. He already knew what would happen when his turn came. Nothing. That was how it usually went. The class that shouldn't exist. Mux. The overseer didn't bother calling his surname. Max stepped forward anyway. The awakening circle pulsed beneath his feet. Pale light crawling across its surface like something reluctant to wake. He closed his eyes and waited for the familiar emptiness. Seconds passed. Then the ground cracked. A sharp sound echoed across the plaza as fine fractures spider-webbed outward from the circle. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Max's breath caught. Cold rushed up his legs. Not the chill of air, but the deep, hollow cold of burial soil. Something answered. Error unknown. Class detected, rewriting classification parameters. Max screamed as pain tore through his spine. Not flesh structure. He felt every bone in his body vibrate, resonate, remember. The light in the circle dimmed, then turned the color of old ivory. Class awakened, Bonemancer. Unique status. First recorded, instance authority granted. Skeletal, binding, growth condition, evolution. Through conflict, Selens, Fel. No chairs, no applause. The overseer stepped back, face drained of color. Impossible, someone whispered. There's no such class, another said. Max dropped to one knee, retching, hands clawing at the stone as a new sensation settled into his chest space. Empty, waiting. Bones beneath the plaza shifted. First summoned Max didn't know how he did it. He only knew that the emptiness inside him pulled. The stone at his feet shattered. A hand rose from below white, cracked, unmistakably human. Thin. Another. A skeleton clawed its way free of the ground, joints grinding softly as it assembled itself with unnatural precision. No flesh, no eyes. It knelt before Max. Skeleton summoned. Type. Basic bone servant. Rank. Primitive potential. Extreme. Screams erupted in the plaza. Guards drew weapons. The overseer raised his staff, voice shaking. Contain it. Kill the summoner if you have to. The skeleton turned its skull toward Max. Waiting. Listening. Max stared at it. Heart pounding. It's not attacking, he whispered. The system responded. Bone Servant Link established command range. Short growth path unlocked evolution conditions. Absorb combat experience. Incorporate higher quality bones. Survive destruction. Max's stomach twisted. Survive destruction. The skeleton tilted its head, as if curious, fear of what comes next. The overseer's voice hardened. This ceremony is over. Detain the boy. Guards advanced. The skeleton rose smoothly to its feet, positioning itself between Max and the approaching soldiers. Crude, weak, but loyal. Max felt it then, the truth settling heavy in his bones. This wasn't a class meant to shine at Awakening. It was meant to start small and become something terrifying later. End of Chapter 1. As Max was dragged away in chains, the skeleton followed, joints clattering softly. No one noticed the faint system message flicker one last time. Bone Servant record updated. Survival instinct. Developing Chapter 2. Property of the Sanctum Max learned quickly that chains didn't stop magic. They only told it where it was allowed to exist. Cold iron bit into his wrists as he was dragged through the underlevels of the Sanctum Citadel. The halls here were older than the city above bone white stone. Narrow arches and walls etched with prayer sigils, meant to suppress unstable awakenings. They burned not his skin, his bones. Suppression field detected effect. Summon authority reduced. 70% warning. Prolonged exposure causes structural damage. Max gritted his teeth and stayed silent. His skeleton followed anyway. Not summoned. Remembered. Its bones scraped softly along the stone as it walked behind him, ignoring every ward as if it simply didn't recognize them. That scared the guards more than any spell could. Assessment: they locked him in a circular chamber lit by cold blue crystals. A dozen robed figures waited inside Sanctum Arbiters, Kingdom Magisters, and one man in black armor who didn't bother hiding the blade at his side. The Inquisitor. Max, said the High Arbiter, her voice smooth as polished bone. You will answer our questions truthfully. Max looked up. Or? The Inquisitor smiled. Or we erase the mistake. The skeleton shifted. The sound echoed far too loudly. The first lie. Bonemancer, the Arbiter said. That class does not exist in any record. It does now, Max replied quietly. A ripple of unease passed through the chamber. Summon it again, she ordered. Max hesitated. The Inquisitor's blade slid an inch from its sheath. Max raised a shaking hand. The air grew heavy. The floor cracked. Another skeleton emerged, smaller, thinner, poorly formed. It collapsed almost immediately. Skeleton destroyed feedback received bone servant growth. +1. Max gasped as pain flared through his chest. The first skeleton straightened. Its bones looked denser than before. The Magisters froze. Did it just? One whispered, grow. Another, finished, weapon or threat. They argued openly after that. It's scalable, the Magister said. With time and resources, it violates Sanctum law. Snapped another. Raising the dead is forbidden. The High Arbiter raised a hand. Not raising, reassembling. There is a difference. Max's stomach sank. They weren't deciding if to use him. They were deciding how. The proposal the Arbiter turned back to Max. You will serve the Sanctum, she said. Under supervision, you will be trained, restrained, and deployed against our enemies. And if I say no, Max asked. The Inquisitor stepped forward. Then we kill you. A side simp and burn every bone you ever touched. The skeleton took a step forward. Every ward in the room flickered. The Inquisitor's smile faded. Erasure protocol. A Magister whispered urgently. He's resisting suppression. The Arbiter's eyes hardened. Then we proceed with contingency. Runes ignited across the chamber. Erasure ritual initiated. Target. Unique class bearer outcome. Soul Shattermax screamed, not in fear. In fury. Something inside him answered. First act of defiance, the skeleton moved, faster than before. It leapt, bones shattering, reforming mid-air, slamming into the ritual array, and ripping glowing sigils apart with bare hands. The backlash knocked everyone off their feet. Max felt it, every broken bone, every fracture. But instead of pain, growth, bone servant evolution, triggered form, reinforced skeleton trait gained. Damage adaptation, the skeleton rose again. Taller, tiker, harder. The Inquisitor drew his blade at last. This ends now, he snarled. Max staggered to his feet, eyes burning. No, he said, this is where you learn. End of chapter. Too deep within the Sanctum, alarms began to ring. Not invasion alarms, containment failure. And somewhere in the system, a quiet line of text appeared unnoticed by everyone except Max Uniclass. Confirmed. Bonemancer. Growth pattern. Exponential recommended action. Immediate. Termination. Chapter 3. The skeleton that chose the ritual chamber burned. Cracked runes spat sparks across the floor. Suppression wards flickering in and out like dying stars. Guards lay scattered. Some unconscious. Some screaming as the magic backlash chewed through their armor. Max stood swaying at the center of it all. The world felt distant. Muted. His skeleton as first stood in front of him. It had moved there without instruction. Not summoned. Not commanded. It simply decided. Anomaly detected. Bone servant behavior. Autonomous response cause. Unknown. The skeleton raised its shield arm once a ribcage. Now fused and layered into a curved bone plate and took the next spell full in the chest. The impact shattered half its torso. It didn't fall. Bone slid back into place with a grinding click. The skeleton took another step forward. Protective. Deliberate. Max's breath hitched. I didn't tell you to. The skeleton tilted its skull slightly. Then it advanced again. The Inquisitor who didn't strike steel rang as the last standing Inquisitor stepped between the skeleton and the remaining Enough, he barked. The chamber froze. Even the wards hesitated. This Inquisitor was older, scarred, his black armor etched with hundreds of kill marks. His blade remained sheathed. You'll kill him, one Magister hissed. Yes, the Inquisitor replied calmly. Or we'll lose him forever. He turned his gaze to Max. You don't belong in a cage, boy. Max laughed weakly. You noticed a different offer. The Inquisitor raised a hand nod in surrender, but in truce. Our lands are dying, he said. Nightmare creatures pour from the wilds faster than we can burn them away. Knights fail, mages die, sanctums fall. His eyes flicked to the skeleton, but bones don't break the same way flesh does. The room grew cold. Help us, the Inquisitor said. Hunt the nightmares, learn how to kill them permanently, and in return. Max asked. The Inquisitor didn't hesitate. Whatever you want. Silence followed. Max felt the weight of it settle on his shoulders. Protection. Resources. A name that wasn't heretic. The skeleton's choice. Max didn't answer right away. He looked at the skeleton instead. It was damaged. Cracked. Scarred. Still standing. Still between him and danger. Not because it was ordered. Because it wanted to. That terrified him more than any threat. Bone servant status update trait developed. Guardian instinct note. This behavior cannot be suppressed. Max exhaled slowly. No, he said. The Inquisitor frowned. Think carefully. I am, Max replied. That's why I'm saying no. Why Max refused you. Don't want my help, Max said quietly. You want ownership. Leash. Collar. Permission. He looked around the shattered chamber, and the moment I stop being useful, you'll decide I'm too dangerous. The skeleton stepped closer to him. Max rested a hand against its cracked shoulder. I'll hunt the nightmare creatures, he continued, because they need to be hunted. But I won't do it for you. Terms of freedom. The Inquisitor studied him for a long moment. Then unexpectedly he laughed. A short, tired sound. Figures, he said. The first Bonemancer. Choose a solitude. He drew a dagger and cut the chain binding Max's wrists. The shackles fell away. Gasps echoed through the chamber. You walk out, the Inquisitor said. Alone. No escort. No banner. He leaned closer. But understand this. Others won't be as patient as I am. Max met his gaze. I hope so. The solo adventurer Max left the sanctum at dusk. No ceremony. No cheers. Just a boy. A bone staff scavenged from the ruins, and a skeleton walking at his side. Outside the city walls, the land stretched, broken and screaming. Far in the distance, something massive roared nightmare-born, hungry, eternal. Max felt fear. Then resolve. Status updated role. Solo adventurer reputation. Unregistered threat classification. Undetermined. The skeleton stopped. It turned its skull toward the darkness, then stepped in front of Max again. Waiting. Protecting. Max swallowed. Thanks, he whispered. The skeleton didn't respond, but it didn't move either. And that was enough. Endos Chapter 3, somewhere behind him. The Sanctum recorded his departure as a temporary containment failure. Somewhere ahead, nightmare creatures stirred. And walking between those two truths was the world's first Bonemancer alone, unclaimed, and already changing what loyalty meant. Chapter 4. The thing that learned to fear Bone the land beyond the Sanctum walls was wrong. Not ruined aware. Max felt it with every step. A low pressure beneath his feet like the ground was holding its breath. Dead trees leaned inward. Their bark split into shapes that looked too much like faces. The sky above hung low and colorless, as if exhausted by watching too many things die. This was nightmare territory. Max tightened his grip on the bone staff strapped across his back and exhaled slowly. "All right," he muttered. "First job." The skeleton stopped beside him. It scanned the fog ahead, skull turning in sharp, deliberate increments. No command had been given, no signal sent. It was listening. Threat proximity alert, nightmare entity detected. Classification: unknown. Hostile. The fog moved, not drifting. Something massive shifted within it, accompanied by the sound of wet muscle dragging across stone. Max's stomach dropped. So much for starting small. The nightmare beast had emerged like a bad memory, forcing its way back into the mind. 6 limbs, too many joints. A body like a skinned hound stretched over a frame that bent the wrong way. Its head was a vertical split of bone and flesh, lined with teeth that ground against each other constantly, as if chewing on thoughts. Eyes opened along its torso, all of them locked onto Max. Nightmare confirmed designation. Weeping Maw, threat level. High behavior. Territorial predator. The weeping mouse screaming, not from its mouth but from the eyes embedded in its body. The sound slammed into Max's head, flooding him with panic that wasn't his own. He staggered. Blood ran from his nose. Mental pressure detected resistance. "Low move," Max shouted. The skeleton was already moving. First contact, the weeping maw lunged. Too fast. The skeleton intercepted it, bones cracking as it slammed shoulder first into the beast's leg. Claws raked across the skeleton's back, tearing ribs free and scattering fragments across the ground. Max flinched as pain echoed through him, not crippling, but short. "Shed, don't," he started. The skeleton shoved the beast back anyway. Not strong enough. Not yet. Bone Servant damaged integrity. 41%. Max raised his staff with shaken hands. "I can fix this," he focused. Pulled. Bones littering the ground trembled, but the weeping maw was already recovering. It reared up, maw splitting wider than anatomy allowed, and slammed down straight at Max. The moment that should have killed him, Max froze. Too slow, too scared. The skeleton saw it, and chose. It leapt not to attack, but to shield. The weeping maw's jaws closed around the skeleton's torso and crushed. Bones shattered. Connection screamed. Max dropped to his knees, choking on the feedback. No! Bone 7 destroyed the world, went quiet. For half a heartbeat, Max felt hollow. Then something pulled. Not from him. From the remains. Evolution. Under fire, the shattered bones did not scatter. They rearranged. Fragments slammed together midair, fusing with a sound like grinding stone. Thicker bones formed where thin ones had been. Plates overlapped. Spines reinforced. The skeleton reassembled itself inside the weeping maw's jaws and pushed outward. Evolution triggered. Deathbound adaptation form updated. Guardian skeleton new traits acquired. Reinforced bone plating. Pain. Suppression. Threat prioritization. The weeping. Maw shrieked as its jaws were forced open from within. The skeleton emerged larger, broader. Bones darkened and etched with stress fractures that glowed faintly ivory. It planted its feet and tore, turning the hunt. Max stared in disbelief. The skeleton moved differently now, purposeful, aggressive. It grabbed one of the beast's limbs and snapped it backward with brutal efficiency. Bone met nightmare flesh end. This time, the flesh gave way. The weeping maw recoiled. Its many eyes fluttered. Fear bled through the psychic pressure. Nightmare status. Panicking, you're afraid, Max whispered. He forced himself upright, heart hammering. Good. He slammed his staff into the ground and pulled with everything he had left. Bones erupted from the soil-old, ancient, forgotten and wrapped around the nightmare's legs, anchoring it in place. The skeleton didn't wait. It climbed, and over and ignoring claws and teeth, until it reached the central split of the creature's head. Then it drove its fist inside. The weeping maw convulsed once, and went still. Aftermath silence returned to the fog. The skeleton dropped from the corpse and turned toward Max. It was taller now. Heavier. Its skull bore a faint crack down the center like a scar. Max laughed weakly and then nearly collapsed. You saved me. The skeleton tilted its head. Bone servant status update. Designation. Guardian Unit Alpha. Bond strength increased. The weeping maw dissolved into ash, leaving behind something solid at its core, a blackened shard, pulsing faintly. Nightmare core acquired potential use. Bone reinforcement evolution catalyst. Max picked it up with trembling fingers. The land around them felt quieter. Not healed, but wary. He looked at the skeleton standing watch beside him. Guess that makes us hunters now. He sighed softly. The skeleton turned back toward the fog, waiting for the next threat. End of chapter 4. Far away, unseen by Max, other nightmare creatures shifted uneasily. Something that should have died had learned how to grow, and worse, it had learned how to protect. Chapter 5. Teeth at smile back. Far away from Max Farah, enough that the land no longer whispered his name, something ancient stirred. Nightmare creatures did not fear in the way living things did. They reacted to pressure, to disruption, to changes in the rules that governed their existence. And the rules had shifted. Across the broken plains and corrupted forests, lesser nightmares paused mid-hunt. Burrowing things recoiled back into the soil. Winged shapes altered their paths. A few, older and crueler, turned their many eyes toward the same direction. Toward Bone, toward something that refused to stay broken. The land did not scream. It watched. The other hunter's Max wasn't alone. He learned that the hard way. The corpse of the weeping maw had fully cooled when the smell of iron and ozone reached him. Wrong sense. Clean and sharp, layered with alchemical residue. Footsteps followed. Measured. Confident. Max stiffened, hand tightening around his staff. The guardian skeleton shifted slightly, placing itself half a step in front of him without being asked. From the fog emerged 5 figures. Adventurers. Real ones. Not Sanctum guards. Not conscripts. Hunters. The Grinning Blade Company, the one in front, was a woman with short silver hair and a sword slung casually over her shoulder. Her armor was mismatched, but well maintained, etched with kill marks and monster sigils. Her smile was too easy. Well, damn, she said. Looks like we're late. Behind her, a hulking man wrapped in layered hide armor, carrying a cleaver that still dripped black ichor. A robed caster whose eyes glowed faintly green, fingers already tracing spell threads. A lean archer with a bone-tipped arrow drawn halfway back, and a quiet man with no visible weapon, which was always the worst kind. Their eyes flicked from Max to the skeleton to the nightmare corpse. Interests sharpened. Multiple hostiles detected classification. Awakened adventurers threat level. Variable. That's our mark, the silver-haired woman said, pointing at the dissolving remains of the weeping maw. We had a contract. Max swallowed. You're welcome. She laughed. Cute. Her gaze slid back to the skeleton. That yours. The guardian skeleton did not move. Its skull turned slightly, evaluating. When hunters size each other up, the caster frowned. That's not a necromancer summon. The quiet man nodded once. No decay. No binding scars. The silver-haired woman's smile widened. Oh, she said softly. That's interesting. Max felt the pressure shift, not overt hostility, but something worse. Appraisal. Predators didn't always kill immediately. Sometimes they tested. The first provocation, the hulking man stepped forward, cracking his neck. Rules are simple. We get the core. Kid, you walk away. Max glanced at the blackened shard in his hand. The guardian skeleton shifted again. Low, braced. The archer's bow came up fully this time. Max raised his chin. No, the silver-haired woman sighed theatrically. Shame. She flicked two fingers. The archer loosed. A skeleton that doesn't flinch the arrow never reached Max. The guardian skeleton moved with brutal precision, stepping into the shot, catching the bone-tipped arrow mid-flight, and snapping it in half. It didn't roar, didn't posture. It simply advanced. Guardian Unit Alpha threat response. Act of the ground crunched beneath reinforced bow as it took one step forward. Then, another. The grinning blade company tensed. The caster muttered, "The thing's reading us." The quiet man leaned back slightly. It already chose. The line was drawn. Max's heart pounded, but he didn't step back. I killed it, he said. I keep the core. The silver-haired woman studied him for a long moment. Then she laughed again, short and sharp. All right, she said. New deal. She pointed her sword at the skeleton. We don't fight that. Her eyes locked onto Max. We fight you. The land responded. Bones beneath the soil trembled. The guardian skeleton stepped forward once, more fully between Max and the adventurer's shield raised stance. Perfect. Max felt the bond tighten. Not ownership, trust. End of Chapter 5, Far Away. Nightmare creatures shifted uneasily. Closer still, 5 seasoned hunters realized something too late. They weren't hunting a boy with a summon. They were standing between a Bonemancer and the thing that had decided he was worth protecting. Chapter 6. When the dead learn faster than the living, the guardian skeleton moved first. Not to attack, to position. It stepped half a pace left, angling its body so Max was no longer centered behind it, but offset, harder to target, harder to flank. One foot scraped the ground deliberately, grinding loose bone fragments into a shallow arc. Cover. Max felt it then, not a command. An intent brushing against his awareness. It was thinking. Behavioral shift detected. Guardian Unit Alpha trait developing. Tactical awareness. The grinning blade company noticed too. The quiet man's eyes narrowed. The thing's not just guarding. The silver-haired woman followed the skeleton's movement, smile fading. It's setting a line. Max swallowed. It does that now. That, she said dryly, is not comforting. The land breaks the standoff. The fog screamed. Not audibly, spatially. The ground convulsed as something massive tore its way upward 100 paces away, followed by another rupture, then another. Black ichor sprayed into the air, sizzling where it touched stone. The nightmare creatures had arrived. Not one. A pack. Multiple nightmare entities detected. Classification: swarm-type predators. Threat level: catastrophic. They crawled out of the earth like parasites, shaking off sleep-long limbed horrors, with segmented bodies and lamprey maws, their hides stitched with eyes that blinked independently. And behind them, something taller, broader, a nightmare that walked upright, dragging a spine club behind it like a king's scepter. The land reached. The grinning blade company swore in unison. The archer hissed, "That's not our contract." The caster's voice went tight. "That's a territory response." The silver-haired woman looked at Max, then at the skeleton, then back at the approaching nightmares. "Well," she said, "looks like we're all late." A skeleton that anticipates before anyone gave an order. The guardian skeleton moved again. It struck the ground twice with its shield once, twice then pointed. Left flank, then it raised 2 fingers and curled them inward. "Fall back." Max's breath caught. You're planning." The skeleton didn't answer. It advanced 3 steps forward and stopped perfectly positioned at the choke point between broken stone pillars, a defensive anchor. The quiet man cursed softly. "It's using terrain." The silver-haired woman grinned again this time, sharp, impressed. "All right, Bone Kid Truce." Max didn't hesitate. Truce. Joining forces, the adventurers moved fast. The archer climbed Rubel without being told. The hulking man planted himself beside the skeleton, matching its stance instinctively. The caster began weaving layered spells control, not damage. The guardian skeleton adjusted. It shifted half a step to give the cleaver room to swing. It raised its shield just before the first nightmare lunged, blocking a blow that would have taken Max's head off. Max felt the feedback, but it was muted. The skeleton had braced correctly. Tactical execution, successful damage transfer reduced. "Oh," Max whispered, "you're learning how to hurt less." The clash, the nightmares, hit like a tidal wave. The skeleton held. The hulking man roared and cleaved through chitin and muscle. The archer's arrows pinned creatures mid-leap. Spells detonated in controlled bursts, funneling enemies exactly where the guardian skeleton wanted them. It stepped, blocked, countered. It grabbed a nightmare by the jaw and used its body to shield Max from acid spit. Bones sizzling but holding. Then it threw the creature right into another nightmare's path. The silver-haired woman laughed breathlessly. "Did your summon just use one monster as cover from another?" Max didn't look away. "Yes." The skeleton turned its skull briefly toward him, as if checking. Then it returned to the fight. The bigger one moves the upright nightmare, finally advanced. Each step cracked stone. The battlefield pressure doubled. The caster shouted, "We can't hold that." Max felt the pull in his chest, the urge to summon more. The skeleton raised one hand, palm open. "Wait." It planted its shield into the ground, bracing. Then it angled its body slightly, inviting the charge. A trap. Max's eyes widened. "You're baiting it." The skeleton didn't deny it. A decision made together, the giant nightmare roared and charged. Max slammed his staff down. Bones erupted not, randomly. But where the skeleton had left space, the creature stumbled. The skeleton surged forward, locking its shield against the nightmare's knee while the hulking man struck the exposed joint. The silver-haired woman leapt, blade flashing, carving deep. The monster collapsed with a sound like a collapsing building. Silence followed. Heavy, earned. After the screaming stops, the fog thinned. The remaining nightmares fled. No one chased them. The guardian skeleton straightened slowly, scanning the area until its posture finally relaxed. It returned to Max's side, standing, guarding. The grinning blade company stared. The quiet man broke the silence first. "That wasn't a summon," he said. "That was a partner." The silver-haired woman nodded, "And it just saved all our lives." Max rested a trembling hand against the skeleton's arm. It didn't move away. Guardian unit, alpha trait advanced, tactical learning bone type. Mutual dependence. Far away, nightmare creatures shifted again. This time, not uneasily, cautiously. Because something new was walking the wilds. Not a hero, not a monster, but a Bonemancer whose dead did not wait to be told how to survive. And that terrified the world more than any spell ever could. Chapter 7. Half a core. Whole trust the battlefield smelled like scorched ichor and old dust. What remained of the giant nightmare lay crumpled where it fell, its massive frame already beginning to dissolve back into the land. Veins of dark light pulsed weakly beneath its hide cores, plural, fractured but potent. Max knelt beside the corpse, breath still unsteady. The guardian skeleton stood watch, unmoving, skull angled outward, alert even as the danger faded. No one rushed him. That alone felt strange. Dividing the dead, the silver-haired woman crouched across from Max, sword resting across her knees. "Contract says we take a core," she said lightly, but, given circumstances, she gestured at the shattered remains of the weeping maw nearby. Max nodded. "I already took half." He opened his hand. The nightmare, core now, splits pulsed faintly, the two halves resonating in distant sympathy. The grinning blade company exchanged glances. The caster whistled softly. Clean split. The quiet man gave a single nod. Fair. The archer lowered her bow completely for the first time. The silver-haired woman smiled. Genuine now. "Then we'll call it square." An unexpected offer. Max turned toward the massive corpse of the giant nightmare. "There's more," he said. The company stiffened slightly. "That thing," Max continued, "wasn't part of your contract. And we will have survived without you." He gestured toward the fallen titan. "I don't need its core." The silence that followed was immediate and intense. "Giving it to us?" the hulking man asked, disbelief heavy in his voice. Max nodded. "As compensation. And, a peace offer." The guardian skeleton shifted subtly but didn't object. It had already assessed the threat. "Acceptance?" The silver-haired woman blinked, then laughed open, loud, unrestrained. "Bone kid," she said, standing and sheathing her sword. "You're terrible at this business." She extended a hand. "But you're good people." Max hesitated, then took it. Her grip was firm, warm, hewn. The caster clapped his hands together. "That core will fund us for months." The archer smiled faintly, and by a lot of apologies. The quiet man stepped closer to the skeleton, studied it for a moment, then inclined his head respectfully. "To you as well," he said. The skeleton didn't bow, but it didn't move away either. "Aname shared grinning blade company," the silver-haired woman said. "If you survive long enough, you'll hear it again." Max smiled weakly. "Max? Bonemancer?" She smirked. "Yeah, we figured." She glanced at the skeleton. "Does it have a name?" Max opened his mouth, paused, then shook his head. "Not yet. Give it time," she said. "Names stick better when they're earned." The skeleton tilted its skull slightly, as if considering parting ways. They didn't linger. Adventurers never did. After harvesting the giant's core and sealing it in rune-lined containers, the grinning blade company prepared to move out. Before leaving, the silver-haired woman looked back one last time. "Careful out here, Max. Word spreads fast." Max nodded. "So do nightmares." She grinned. "Not fast enough." They vanished into the fog, laughter and low voices fading into the broken land. What remained? The quiet returned. Max sat heavily on a stone, exhaustion finally catching up to him. The guardian skeleton stood beside him. Still. Reliable. "You could have taken it," Max said softly. "You know that, right?" The skeleton didn't respond, but it turned slightly just enough to block the wind. Bun confirmed guardian unit. Alpha status. Companion, not summon. Max looked at the half-core in his hand, then at the empty horizon. A solo adventurer, with allies he didn't expect, and a dead thing that had learned how to choose. He stood. "All right," he said quietly. Let's go earn you a name. The skeleton stepped forward. Together, they walked into the screaming world. Not alone, and no longer hunted by everyone they met. Not yet. The night it rained ash, on the 7th or maybe 9th night, ash fell from the sky like snow. Max slept curled near a collapsed tower, cloak pulled tight around his shoulders. His breathing was shallow, uneven. A ripple moved through the ash field. The skeleton turned. 2 figures emerged from the darkness, long-limbed, hunched nightmares with heads like cracked masks. They crept forward slowly, drawn by warmth, by breath. The skeleton did not charge. It stepped sideways, blocking. One nightmare hissed. The skeleton raised its shield. The creatures froze. They stared at it, then slowly retreated back into the dark. No battle, no noise. The skeleton returned to its post. Max never woke. Change without orders. By morning, Max noticed something different. The skeleton had added to itself, not new bones, rearranged ones. Its shoulder plating overlapped more cleanly. Its stance was tighter, more efficient. Max stared. You worked on yourself. The skeleton tilted its skull slightly. Adaptive self-modification condition. Passive evolution. Max laughed quietly, rubbing his eyes. Guess I should start paying you. The skeleton didn't react, but it shifted its weight, suddenly ready to move. A quiet understanding. They didn't talk. They didn't need to. Max on the skeleton guarded. When Max slept, the skeleton watched. When the skeleton took damage, Max felt it and learned how to help. It wasn't master and summon anymore. It was routine. Trust. Something solid in a world that broke everything else. End of Chapter 8. Far from any sanctum or road, rumors began to spread. Of a lone boy walking the wilds. Of nightmares found shattered into bone and ash. Of a skeleton that did not attack unless it had to. And of campsites where the ground was trampled by monsters. But the sleeping human in the center was never touched, because death, for once, had decided to stand guard. Chapter 9. The weight of choices Max had. He realized how heavy the bag had become until he tried to lift it with one hand. It tugged downward, space inside bending against its limits. The subspace bag, stamped with the sigil of the Inquisition, hummed faintly, strained but intact. A lot, Max muttered. He sat on a slab of broken marble overlooking a shallow crater where nightmares had once poured through. The land was quiet now. Too quiet. The guardian skeleton stood a few steps behind him, spear planted in the ground, skull sweeping the horizon in slow arcs, on watch. Always. Taking stock, Max opened the bag. The ash shimmered as the contents spilled out, not physically, but visually. Like a projection of what lay inside. Nightmare core. Small ones, dull and cracked. Medium ones with faint internal glow. A few larger cores, dense, heavy with condensed malice. More than he'd ever seen in one place. More than a rookie solo adventurer should survive carrying. Inventory subspace bag. Nightmare core. 27 minor. 14 standard. 9 greater damaged. 4 capacity. 91% Max exhaled slowly. Didn't think it'd add up this fast. The skeleton's skull turned slightly toward the display. Its fingers twitched. Not reaching. Just aware. 2 paths. Max picked up one of the standard cores. It pulsed weakly. Surface cracked, like old glass. He knew what would happen if he fed it to the skeleton. He'd seen it before. Bones thickening. Structure refining. Reflexes sharpening. Each core made the Guardian less like a summon and more like something real. More dangerous, more independent. The thought made his chest tighten. Then there was the other option. Return to town. Sell the cores. Buy food that wasn't ration bars, bandages, charms. Maybe a better cloak. Maybe even a bigger subspace bag. Supplies meant survival, but towns meant eyes, questions, records. A silent opinion, Max. looked back at the skeleton. "What do you think?" The skeleton didn't answer. It stepped closer, crouched, and placed one hand over a cracked minor core that had rolled near Max's foot. Not consuming it, just covering it. Claiming responsibility. Max swallowed. "You'd get stronger." The skeleton nodded, barely perceptible. Then it moved its hand away and stepped back, leaving the core untouched. Guardian Unit, Alpha Preference. User safety prioritized. Max laughed quietly, rubbing his face. "You're not making this easier." The cost of power. He stared at the cores again. Every one of them was a choice. Feed the skeleton, and it would protect him better, but... The Sanctums already feared necromancy. An evolving, independent undead would push that fear into panic, sell the cores, and he could stay human longer. Stay normal. But weakness killed faster than judging out here. Max closed the bag. "For now, I'll decide tomorrow," he said. "One more hunt's not gonna break us." The skeleton resumed its post without comment, but it adjusted its position slightly closer than before. Foreshadow far away, inside a walled city. A clerk stamped a report with shaking hands. "Unregister it. Bone type, awakened. Confirm nightmare core output. High recommendation. Monitor OR, intercept, and deeper still." In lands Max hadn't yet reached, something ancient shifted. A nightmare that did not hunt blindly. One that remembered what bones could become. End of chapter 9. Max lay back against the stone, staring at the cracked sky. Power or safety? Strength or secrecy? Tomorrow, he'd choose. And whatever he chose would change more than just him. Chapter 10. Bones that remember Max didn't sleep on the decision. He sat cross-legged in the ruin. Subspace bag open. Cores laid out in a rough circle like a ritual. He had on to be intact, but somehow understood. The guardian skeleton stood at the center, waiting. The choice made all of them. Max said quietly. The words felt heavy. Final. The skeleton's skull lifted slightly. Empty sockets fixed on him. No protest. No hesitation. Just acceptance. Max reached into the bag and began placing the cores of the skeleton's feet one after another. Minor. Standard. Greater. Even the cracked ones. 27 fragments of condensed nightmare. "Don't hold back," Max added. "I won't." The skeleton raised one hand, then slammed it down. Consumption, the cores shattered. Not explosively, but pulled apart, as if gravity itself reversed. Dark energy surged into the skeleton's frame, threading through bone, filling gaps that weren't visible before. Runes burned faintly along its ribs, rearranging themselves mid-glow. Bone thickened. Joints refined. The shield fused more cleanly to the forearm, layers overlapping like plated armor. The spear lengthened, its tip reforming into a wicked, barbed point. Max felt it. Every evolution tugged at his chest, at the bond linking them. Pain, pressure, pride. Guardian Unit Alpha evolution in progress. Structure integrity, refined combat intelligence. Enhanced autonomy threshold. Approaching Max, clenched his teeth. Don't lose yourself. The skeleton straightened and placed its fist over its chest. A vow. Aftermath. When the glow faded, the ruin was quiet again. The skeleton was taller, broader. No longer just bone-thin veins of darkened marrow pulsed beneath its surface, like a living thing pretending not to be. It knelt. "Not," commanded. Max exhaled slowly. "Yeah, that's about right." Sustaining the living hunger followed. "Always, Deeth." Max dragged the remains of a slain nightmare closer to the fire pit he'd carved into the stone earlier. He carved the meat carefully, avoiding corrupted organs, roasting what he could salvage. The smell was sharp but familiar. He ate, slowly, methodically, filtered water through cloth and ash like he'd done since childhood. Let the grit settle, drank without complaint. This was survival. This was normal. The skeleton stood nearby, silent guardian even as its body finished settling into its new form. Pushing forward by morning, the bag was light, empty of cores. Heavy with consequence, Max rolled his shoulders, feeling the familiar ache of movement after rest. "All right," he said. "One of you isn't enough anymore." The air around him chilled. The ground beneath his feet trembled faintly. A second summon, Max pressed his palm to the cracked earth. "Rise," Bone answered. Fragments clawed their way free older, more brittle than the Guardian's frame. A simpler skeleton emerged, hunched and narrow, missing pieces it never had. It stood unsteadily. Max studied it. "Support role," he murmured. "Ranged, if possible." The skeleton tilted its skull, then its arms split, bone reshaping into a crude bow-like structure, string forming from hardened marrow. Skeleton unit. Beta summoned role. Support. Ranged stability. Low growth potential. HIGH. The Guardian skeleton stepped forward instantly, positioning itself between Max and the new summon. Assessing. The beta skeleton froze, then lowered itself, slightly submissive. The Guardian accepted it. A new Marshmax smiled faintly. "Guess that makes us a team." Two skeletons flanked him now. One refined, deliberate, choosing. One raw, adaptable, waiting to learn. Max adjusted his pack and began walking deeper into the ruined lands toward louder screams, heavier skies, and nightmares that would test what he'd just created. He didn't look back, because he'd already crossed the line. End of Chapter 10. Far beyond Max's senses, instruments within a distant Sanctums spiked violently. Anomalous necromantic signature class confirmation. Bonemancer threat level, escalating in somewhere beneath the cracked sky. Something ancient smiled. Not because Max was strong, but because he was committing.